Hey guys, it's Jaylon. Welcome back. I'm here today to share with you my update for Project Yarnathon. This is not a makeup related project, but it is a crafty project. This was originally started by Andrea over at Pretty as a Peacock, and the goal here is to use up a marathon's worth of yarn in finished objects. I have been doing this since last year, beginning of around February of last year, so it's right around a year now, and I have not finished that many items. So leading up to this update, I had only knit up into finished objects 3,267 yards. A marathon is 46,145 yards. So I have a while to go. I have a ways to go. Now, I do have 2 finished items to share with you, and I am so excited for both, but one in particular, I'm so excited. Let me share with you the first one I have finished. I started knitting these before or after the last update. They are a pair of fireside mitts. Here are the mitts here. There's obviously 2 of them. I knit this with a friend's hand spun, and this is all that is left of the ball. So these mitts ended up using 142 yards. So yay, another finished object. I'm so excited. Now, the big item that I finished in the past month is my crocheted blanket. You guys, I've been working on this for over 10 years. Over 10 years. And it's going to be hard to show this to you. I have not blocked it yet, but here is some of the blanket, and it's, oh my gosh, it's done, you guys. It's done. I pieced the whole thing together, and I also crocheted an edge, as you can see here. I think there's 3 rounds around the edge of this. I'm so excited. I finished my blanket. It is the perfect size. So happy. Yay! This puppy ate up a total of, let's see, 3,852 yards. Yay! Which is awesome. And all of these squares were knit with scraps of yarn, like leftover scraps of yarn that I had from sock projects, mostly sock projects, but anything that used fingering weight yarn, the leftovers were available to use for this blanket. This was my focus object to finish in the month of December. Like, I was really determined to finish it, and I finished it before the end of the year, actually. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. So yes, this is done. Woo. Let's see if I can get it folded back up. My blanket is done. So happy. Anyway, big, it's so funny because this blanket alone has more yardage out than I had knit up since I started the project back in February of last year. So again, 3,852 yards for the blanket. The total for January that I knit up, well, since December 18th until now, is 3,994 yards. So I have remaining 38,884 yards. I am 16% to my goal of a marathon's worth of yarn. So anyway, this is the big one for this month. Okay, moving on. Now I have cast on and knit a ton since my last update. I'm going to link my Get Your Craft On project introduction in the cards. That was a project I started on December 18th with a bunch of other ladies, including Andrea, Kim, and Danny. I'll link all their information down below. This and Shelly from Unapologetically Shelly as well. I get really tongue-tied saying her channel name. The goal for that project is to cast on one item, one project every day in the month of January. So I'm actually filming this on the 16th of January. So far I have cast on 15 new projects. I'm going to show you the things that I have been working on. And so this video could be a little bit long, I'm sorry. So the first one I'm going to share with you is a project that I have been working on for a long time. It's been a work in progress for quite a while. It's in this really adorable project bag. And here is the yarn. The yarn I'm using is a lace weight silky merino. It's by Sandara. I think it's let's see, what's the percentage? 70% merino, 30% silk. And this is a really like long-term project, obviously, because I've been working on this for over a year, maybe even 2. The pattern is called Muji Painting. And what I've been doing is this is what this looks like so far. I mean, it's literally it's a stole. I think it's actually a cowl, if I remember correctly, but a lace weight cowl it's got a provisional cast on here at the bottom. And I will seam this together once it's done. And this just kind of shows you the last time I showed this to you, that's how much I've knit. So I haven't knit very much of it. It's just been something that I actually have by my bed. And whenever I'm sitting in bed, watching a show before I go to bed, and I want to knit on something, I'll pick this up, but it's not something I do that frequently. It feels really nice, but again, it doesn't have that much progress on it since the last update. These next few are very similar to the last one where I cast on these a long time ago and I've just got some use on them. The next one is actually a pair of socks. Now I did finish one of the socks. The pattern is called Kai Mei by Cookie A. I was sad to see that Cookie A does not create sock patterns anymore. Her sock patterns are amazing. Anyway, I did finish one of the socks. This pattern is so beautiful. It's got this lace panel that goes from the heel all the way to the toe in a diagonal format. It's such a cool sock pattern. I'm making these for my mom. Well, I have been making these for my mom for quite some time. The yarn is a Sandara sock, and the colorway that I have here is called End of Days. So anyway, I have one finished sock, so I'm halfway to finishing this project. And then here is the yarn. It's beautiful, but I haven't really touched it since I finished that first sock. I don't really have second sock syndrome, but I've been focusing on some other things. The next one I have a really good amount of progress on, a lot of progress actually, is my boxy sweater. So I am knitting it in Madeline Tosh Merino Light. The last time I showed this to you, I had started the back, and I realized while I was knitting it that I was knitting it on the wrong size needles. So I kind of put it aside for a while. And then once I finished my blanket, I was like, okay, I need something to work on before the beginning of the year when I start casting on all the projects. So I'm happy to say that I did finish the back. And this is currently on waist yarn. Well, the bottom part of the sweater is currently on waist yarn because I want to actually, depending on how much yarn I have left over, I want to add length to the sweater, but I'm going to wait until I have finished the sleeves. So the sleeves are next. This is seamed together, so I can actually put it on and show it to you. So that's how it's looking so far. Yeah. That's as much as I got. So this is a very oversized sweater, and that's kind of the way the pattern is written. I do still need to seam the sides. I haven't done that yet, but anyway, I'm so excited that this has this much progress on it. I'm typically not a person who avoids sleeves or anything like that, so I think once I get through January and I get through all the projects I want to cast on in January, I will get back to this. This will probably be the next big project that I finish. Super excited. So this is the boxy pattern by Hoki Locatelli. So those are all the patterns that I was working on before the beginning of January that I have some progress on. Now I'm going to start sharing with you the items that I have cast on in January. The first one I have here is a pair of socks. It is with this yarn from Knitterly Things. This is in the shade Algae. It's a self-striping yarn, and I am just knitting a simple toe-up sock. So this is how much I have of this so far. Just the start of a toe. But at least, you know, it's a decent amount of knitting for, I think, one evening. So that is the first item that I have cast on. The next one, I just cast this on last night. This is a sweater, and it is the, let me pull up my list here. The Weekender by Andrea Mowry. And I am knitting it with this gorgeous Tweedy yarn. It's the Kathmandu Aran weight yarn by Queensland. The ball is right here. I don't know what I'm doing. Queensland Collection Kathmandu Aran. And this is in the shade number 127. I literally just cast this on last night, so I don't have very much to show on this. So I did do the tubular cast on there at the bottom. So I literally have like maybe two or three additional rows knit. And that's it, but I'm so excited to have this sweater started. I had to remind myself and watch a couple of videos on tubular cast on because it has been a long time since I have done that. But anyway, that's a sweater I started. Next up is a blanket. Now this one is the Granny Stripe blanket, and I'm knitting it in a bunch of different colors of Madeline Tosh Merino Light. And here, this is what I have. So it's a crocheted blanket. This is all I have so far. I mean, it's literally just started. I did the cast on with the contrast color. And then I've done one full row of this beautiful, I don't remember what you call this, crochet stitch, right? That's what you call it. But anyway, it's very long. So I started this. I'm so excited because this has been a blanket that I've wanted to crochet for a very long time. So I started that guy. I think that one has the contrast color plus 8, I want to say 8 other colors. I'm going to be working into that blanket. So it's going to eat up a lot of yarn. Now this is the one I probably have the most progress on. No, for sure. It's definitely the one I have the most progress on. This cowl is called the Quilted Lattice Cowl, and it's by Debbie Seaton. And I am using Malabrigo worsted in the shade Uva, which is this colorway here. And I've actually already knit a full ball of this, and I'm working on the second ball. So here is what this one looks like so far. It's a gorgeous pattern. I love it. This is when I'm like just watching TV and I have already cast on my project for the day and I want to work on something to potentially finish. This is what I work on. So this one it's over halfway done. I'm super excited. This one's a beautiful pattern. Hopefully I'll stop saying beautiful and gorgeous and blah, blah, blah. The next project I cast on was the Litmus cowl. This is a two-toned cowl, meaning it has 2 different colors. So here is basically the very start of it. It's a cowl that you cast on and do it as a loop. What do you call it? Double-sided cowl. Maybe that's the best way to put it. Anyway, it is on a provisional cast on, so I will graft it when it's finished. So the main color is this by Fiber Optic. It's their paint box set in tangerine ultraviolet, and they actually were a bunch of little mini skeins that I tied together. So once I finish this first color, I will then move on to the contrast color, which is this is by the Plucky Knitter. It's their Primo Fingering in Barely Birch. And the Primo Fingering that's a 75% merino cashmere, 20% cashmere, and 5% nylon. So that is this cowl. I mean, I basically just barely cast on. It's going to be the case for a lot of these. All right, and this bag, which is a real adorable project bag, it's, of course, Sugar Skulls. I have the very, very, very beginnings of a dotted raise shawl by Stephen West. I mean, I'm literally, like, that's all I got. I'm not really a cowl person, or I'm sorry, I'm not really a shawl person, But this one reminds me of basically a really long stole, which is why I was like, yes, let's do it. And the yarn I'm using is this beautiful yarn by Sanguine Griffin, who is no longer around. But this is the Edo Space in the shade Cleo. I do have 2 balls of this that I'll be working on for this shawl. We'll see how I go with that one because I have to pay attention to patterns like this. Hi, Milo. Cat hair everywhere. I have the very beginnings of another pair of socks. This is also by Knitterly Things. This is the shade Verbena and self-striping yarn. So I basically started the cuff. This is a cuff down sock. I am following a pattern for this. The pattern it's basically a very like vanilla sock pattern, and the pattern is called Smooth Operator by Susan B. Anderson. So basically I'm knitting this until I get to the point where I start the heel flap. So that is another pair of socks. I freaking love wearing socks, and I love this bag, this pattern bag. Oh, this project bag, it's so cute. Next up, I have this that I started. These are the beeswax mitts. The pattern is by Amy Vandelar, and this is being knit with Woolly Wonka fibers in the Freya DK base. I think this is a very like woolly yarn. I really do love it. It's a BFL or blue-faced Lessiter, and it's DK weight. I actually have knit this pattern before and then lost I think at least one of the mitts, so I wanted to start another pair because I really do love them. So yeah, very, very beginnings. I mean, I barely have a cuff. The next project I started are Cans by Erica Lomax, and I'm using this beautiful sock weight yarn by Sundara. It's the shade Fire Studies number 178. I'm surprised Sundara is still around. Anyway, here is what I've started so far. I mean, again, basically a cuff. I think I worked on this one evening. I mean, like I said, right now, if I'm going to pick up a pattern, a project to work on, past like casting on a project, I pick up that cowl. And that's the one I'm working on, the quilted lattice cowl. The next project I'm going to talk about that I started is another sweater. This is how much I have on this one. I mean, I barely even, I don't even have the hem done yet. This is Buckwheat by Vera Valimaki. Tongue-tied every time I say her name. So yeah, very, very beginning stages of this. I'm also using Sundara yarn. This is the Sport Merino in the shade Cobalt over Mediterranean. This is a gorgeous color. I am alternating balls of yarn because I don't want there to be pooling or anything. So I've got 2 going at a time. So very beginning stages of this one. Another project I have just a few rows on. This is the Easy Folded Poncho by Church Mouse Yarns and Tees. And here is what I have so far. That's the width. And then of course, here's the length that I have so far. So, you know, just very beginning stages. This is a beautiful poncho. I've never knit a poncho before. I just lost some stitches. Hold on. I have never knit a poncho before, but this one, I've got a lot of projects on with the provisional cast on. So we've got a provisional cast on here. This will eventually be grafted together. I am knitting this with some commercial yarn. This is Rowan Felted Tweed, and this is the shade Scree. I freaking love this color. I love this yarn. It's a delight to knit with. And I freaking love this project bag. It's adorable. This is by JD Studios 480. I found them on Etsy. Love these project bags. Next up is another pair of socks. This is actually knit with my own hand spun. Here is what this yarn looks like. I love knitting with my hand spun. It's such a cathartic experience. It's like, I made this yarn. I love it. Anyway, this is just a simple vanilla sock, and this is what I have so far. So I am past the toe, and I am working on the foot right now. That's what I have so far. So very beginning stages. Always getting through the toe can be a little challenging with these little increases on either side. But yeah, that's what I have so far. Next up is actually a hat. This is knit with some more Sandara yarn. This is in the shade Caribbean, I believe. And the pattern is the Gluma beanie. The Gluma beanie was written by Krabby Tabby. And yes, this is Sandara Caribbean. So I basically just have the very beginning stages of the brim of the hat. This looks pretty large, but whenever I put it on my head, it actually works. It's supposed to be a slouchy beanie. But yeah, that is, I mean, it makes sense. It's like halfway around my head. So anyway, very beginning stages of this one as well. And this one will take a while because it's knit on very small needles and knit with fingering weight yarn. So it's going to take some time to finish. I think this is the last one that I have to show. I have one more project. I started the Hue Shift blanket. I think that one's still in my living room and I'm too lazy to go get it. But I basically have started the first square on that one, and I'm using a bunch of Madeline Tosh Sport, which I didn't even realize is no longer being made. So I can't buy any more of that yarn if for some reason I run out of yarn or something. Anyway, that is in the works. I basically have one square of many on that one. The last project I have to show you is the Barley Sugar Cowl by Isolde Teague. I modified this one. It's originally knit in lace weight, but I'm using this fingering weight yarn by A Thing for String. This is gorgeous. I think the colorway is Morisot. I think that's the right colorway name. Anyway, this is what I have so far. And I knit this basically the way the pattern calls for up until I basically run out of yarn, and then I graft it. It ends up being a beautiful, like, shorter cowl versus the way the project is intended, which is a lace weight cowl, which is double looped. But yeah, this is knitting up so beautifully, this color. I love it. So those are all the projects I am working on. I can tell you now that my knitting mojo is back with a like fierce passion, Ziggy is so happy because he attacks my yarn every night. He's over here now checking out what's going on. So anyway, those are all the items I'm working on. I am so excited that I finished the blanket and that I made a huge amount of progress towards the Yarnathon. I don't know what I'm going to get finished by the time the next update rolls around. I think I'm going to have that cowl finished and maybe a dishcloth because I still haven't cast on a dishcloth. I don't know what else. We'll see. But anyway, that is going to be it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you're doing well and staying safe. Please hit that subscribe button and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. I don't really have second sock syndrome. This is a two-toned duo. Okay, bye.